Okay, so we're addressing the small subject of gaming after COVID-19. Some would say we're not even over gaming COVID-19, but anyway. So first of all, could you, Todd, I apologies, but I didn't see your keynote speech earlier.
Maybe it's delayed to 3:40.
Ah, well, there you go. That's why I missed it. Could you explain what you're going to say and then relate it to what we're going to talk about in this panel?
Sure. So I'm going to be talking about the central subject of ideas with the hope that the consumer of the information will be able to come away and help their own company grow, get the big ideas, stop the bad ones from forming, and talk a little bit about interesting new competition that's on the horizon.
Which is what? What would you identify as the big competition now? Bear in mind the last 2 years, what's happened and where we are. Try and put that in context.
So the hot subject is America, right? Yeah. And they've got all the money in the form of market cap, so they can make big moves, even whether it's land-based or online. I mean, and if you look at like DraftKings, if FanDuel has a spinoff, they'll have a massive market cap. If MGM Sands hasn't made a move yet, so they have all the money. So that's where the action is at the moment, and then what they're doing is they're doing a great job normalizing gaming to the American audience. So they're out there, they're doing advertising on TV, they're doing a great job being speakers for our industry. And so companies like Disney are suddenly waking up and they're saying, okay, well, we'll start with the ESPN brand and they'll make a move there. And other companies are, of course, sitting around and talking about it as it gets normalized. The same way a decade ago, nobody would in polite society say that they're going to invest in a marijuana company or something like that. But as it gets increasingly normalized, you have legitimate businessmen that run legitimate companies that are going and getting marijuana distribution licenses and stuff like that. And so I think there's all kinds of new entrants like that you'll see.
Joakim, what does that weight of M&A money and the involvement of these huge multimedia corporations that we're talking about here, what does that do to the sector? What does it do to people working in the sector? Do you suddenly get enthused that you suddenly think that there's going to be a payday closer down the line than you maybe thought, or does it not kind of work like that?
So immediate reflection on that, me coming from a new vertical, fantasy sports, it has a very close connection to content. It's born out of content. It's basically gamified content. So it is very reliant on not just being put on a site, but also being put into a context which involves sports, broadcast, media, analysis of the players and so on. Everything's around sports. So I'm obviously very happy seeing new entrants come in that arena. Like Todd mentioned there, a lot of new kind of companies that are, let's say, more experienced when it comes to producing content and experiences which go outside just the actual gameplay. So I think it'd be interesting to see what comes out of that, obviously, with the combination of a new money source as well, new kinds of money coming in. I think we'll see some new ways, maybe not new games and products, but new ways of how to put them in front of the users.
And does it just, it's not so much like new products, is it just the level of interest in the current product suite? That's changed, hasn't it? That's a huge driver.
Huge. I mean, again, staying on America just for a moment, but it's true of the whole world. Basically, nobody lives near a casino. Basically, I mean, I came from Las Vegas, so I live near a casino, but basically nobody does. You got to drive 45 minutes, an hour or more, and the name of the game has always been build a casino closer to population centers. So now, when you put it on your phone, people are going to be exposed to it that would never get in their car and drive to a casino. So all the TV ads, all the sign-up bonuses, all the activity, all the money that they're willing to throw to capture early market share is going to undoubtedly grow the space. Undoubtedly, it's going to grow the space. And so it doesn't matter, even if it's just blackjack, roulette, and 5 slot machines. The exposure is just going to be so much greater.
Yeah. Mads, could you explain how long you've been looking at the sector and how it has changed in the last 2 years, or indeed since PASPA?
I've been looking at the sector for, I guess, 5-8 years, something like that. And the lens I see it through is comparing it to like e-commerce and other businesses going online. And I sort of see iGaming going online with sort of the business models that has been there. And now I see a shift in new business models coming up. So you talk about iGaming being an entertainment industry, and entertainment industry can both be something you monetize, but it can also be something that acquires customers for whatever business models you have. Mm-hmm. And you see innovation on the business model side with new business models coming up, where you can have doubts of whether iGaming is a monetization tool or it's a customer acquisition tool. You have DraftKings and you have Barstool and you have other business types emerging. And I think that will be a new trend, and that would be what we would be looking for. And then you have operators trying to optimize the space as it is now, being better at customer acquisition, producing better products. Yeah.
What level of companies are you investing in? What kind of size?
I would like to find companies that takes businesses that innovate on the business model, like e-commerce. There is a lot of innovation there. We've seen e-commerce move online, and they've been competing on price and on logistics. But now they're broadening the experience of e-commerce. So e-commerce becomes places you go to, Taobao in China and Shopee in Asia. You go there and you spend time there and you entertain there, and you monetize that engagement via e-commerce.
Are you investing in a trend, or are you investing in you're investing in the winners from that trend? Do you see what I mean? Are you reasonably agnostic about which companies you think might win? You're just going to invest in a class of companies?
Yeah, I want to invest in innovative companies that figure out a new way of solving a problem or engaging people online. I think that just having people's attention online is really valuable and is going to increase in value. So that's one of the themes that we're really looking for. So just to give an example, we like meal kits. Because it's a frequent app you use. You open that 3-4 times a week to find the recipes and to figure out what to eat next week. And that gives you a consumer relation that you can build on and start selling more products on.
Todd, to what extent have we seen the innovation in Europe when it comes to iGaming and particularly iCasino? And the rewards of that are going to be reaped in the US, in the sense that the money coming in for casino operations in places like Michigan and New Jersey now is starting to really, really ramp up. And therefore, to an extent, and it's kind of back to the question, has the innovation been done here 5 years ago? And now, it's only now that we're going to see the benefit in the US? Or do you think actually the amount of money that's being generated by iCasino in the US will kickstart a new wave of innovation?
As a product guy, I would love to say that it's going to unlock this new wave of innovation, but I think what's happening now is companies have to think about how they want to allocate resources. And so if you have to navigate around Germany and the UK and the Netherlands and New Jersey and Pennsylvania and Michigan, there's only so many resources to go around, unless you just want to run negative EBITDA or something. And so most companies don't want to do that. So people want to get to new markets. And I think that should probably suppress innovation a bit in most companies. I know that's not cool to say, but you got to go where you want to get new money. That's why you launch new products, but you can also get new money by going to new markets. And so I think a lot of companies are making a lot of decisions about, like, do we go to the US? Do we not? It's very expensive. We're going to be a small player there. Can we even afford to? So in the boom that you talk about, the players will be the largest beneficiaries of it, because the price that companies are willing to pay for a player is high. And the bet is that you're going to be able to hold them for their entire playing life. And maybe you will. Maybe that's going to happen. And in which case, we'll be saying, like, holy cow, it was so cheap to buy players back in 2021, even though probably everybody here is talking about how expensive it is. But if you get to hold them for life, like, you know, maybe when you're 21, if you start drinking Budweiser or something like that, you just never move off of it.
I mean, that's not the experience from Europe, is it? The experience in Europe in terms of gaming.
They're very promiscuous.
They're hugely promiscuous.
Yes.
And also the same with sports. I'll come to you in a bit, Joakim. But so we're not talking about a new paradigm here, are we? In the US, we are going to have exactly the same type of promiscuity when it comes to gaming and sports in the US as we've had in Europe. It
should be, but maybe they have tricks that they can play that others didn't. Maybe they can dial in a rewards program to their land-based properties in a way that really hooks players in and makes them never want to leave. People in this room have their favorite credit card or something like that, and I think the industry probably does an okay job with loyalty. Some probably do a great job, but broadly as an industry does an okay job. I'd say airlines do a pretty good job. Like, there's people who will take longer flights that leave at inconvenient times just so they can get miles on there. So if they can put their hooks into players in ways that delight them, players will not want to spend their money elsewhere, other than just taking sign-up bonuses.
I think that the bet here is the customer lifetime value, if we get that right. And that's kind of what markets are discussing right now. So we see people pay up for customers at the moment. And that can turn out to be really good if you can have customers for a long time. And that's really what we as investors should try to estimate, at least if we have a long-term time frame, whether that will be that theme will be true, or whether some new innovative way of acquiring customers or getting customers' attention suddenly emerges, because then this could be way too cheap. But if moats are good and people stay in the businesses that acquire customers at the moment, then investments will be really good long term.
Is something like, or are brands such as MGM and Caesars, is that the first time we've had actual genuine casino brands in the online casino space, in a sense? Certainly backed up with an omnichannel, like you say, an omnichannel experience, which is very different to what we thought of. You know, if you look at omnichannel in the UK, it was matching up a bookie with an online account for Coral. Omnichannel in the US, and it's a very, very different potential. Joakim, what do you think on that?
Yeah, I think you're right. This industry was started almost like trying to copy the land-based industry, pretty much influenced by, I would say, probably very much from the US when it started off. And people took concepts that were available in casinos. They've been to Vegas and these other places, maybe also, locally in some countries you've had casinos, and they've seen something which we could take online, and they copied online, and there was a lot of product innovation, basically taking stuff from land-based to online. And then 7-8 years in, we started having regulation, and then for the last 7-8 years or so, people, for most part, especially in Europe, have been more focused on trying to adopt to the regulations and, finding which markets to be in and so on, not so much focus about, okay, what can we do to take these products to a new level? And now, I think what's happening in the US, I see like a sort of fast version of what's been happening in Europe for 20 years. It's going to maybe unfold for half of the time or even less, And in that process is obviously not exactly carbon copy. It's somewhat different. So there's some new elements in that. Like you said, some entrants that are new, like the physical casinos, which have their view of things and how to do things, a lot of experiences that the people who started off here in Europe didn't have to the same extent. So I think I'm really positive that there will be some new innovative things coming in. Like, we're coming now out of an era of regulation and market adoption and sort of land grabbing, which is happening in the US. Now it's like, again, on steroids, land grab on steroids and spending crazy money. But once we come out of that, I think you're going to have to see innovation. Like you said as well, there's not an infinite amount of players. So whoever is going to win in the long run needs to also offer something which makes players want to stay for a long term, like, you know, build a really strong position and have less actors, right? But now everyone's just trying to grab market share. So I think it will take a couple of years, but I think it will spawn a lot of new innovative ways to do things, and in particular about the connecting different services together with casino.
They're also going to maybe be able to get players to spend money outside of gambling as well. So, you know, you could see something really fun happen, like, you know, someone could open up 200 sports bars across America, and they have their, you know, like Amazon they bought Whole Foods, for example, and it gives you a local presence, and there doesn't necessarily even have to be gambling on that property because it all happens on the phone anyway, but you can earn points and you can get a free pizza, and it makes it real, it makes it tangible, instead of having points that are just sort of sitting in there and in La La Land that you never actually use. So you could see some fun and interesting ways to do that. And then the DraftKings brand, say for example, they bought the sports bars, like that's a brand. And they can now get F&B revenue out of you, and they can get gaming revenue out of you, and maybe they're going to sell you some tickets to events. I think they just did an acquisition there. So there's interesting levers to pull there. You know, a customer can be sold many different things.
How will live casino change, do you think, in the next few years?
You're going to have a lot of studios scattered around the world, and scattered around the United States for sure. So the good live casino provider is good at going into a new market, building a studio, hiring hundreds of people, making them immediately useful on the games, managing the tech. And so that has to be a core competency to be good at live casino, because your partners expect you to be everywhere they are. You know, on day one, that is the expectation. That's a reasonable expectation. So there's going to be a lot of studios. The variation on games is going to continue to evolve, and it will continue to pull slot players over. Because video is all the rage in the world, whether you're looking at TikTok, YouTube, it's a way that people search today. It's going to continue to have wind in its back. So there will be a lot of innovation. I know we're doing a mountain. Our 2022 roadmap is insane. I'm the most excited I've ever been about a roadmap. And 5G helps. You're streaming video. Yeah. You know, new iPhones help because you're streaming at just a bigger, heavier package. Yeah. So there's a lot of wind in the sail.
So we've talked about innovation on the business model, and I think that we are on the verge of innovation on the products as well, and that's due to technological possibilities now. The internet speed is bigger. The internet was not built for live experiences, but that's a capability now, and that's really where this metaverse concept comes in, because like we Zoom now today, and Zoom that experience is going to be built out a lot with a lot of features and a lot of possibilities. So just being in real time in a social experience on the internet, that's actually sort of the lowest and most simple definition of metaverse that I see. And I guess evolution has sort of taken the first steps in that, but I think that will be something that we'll see a lot of product innovation in over the next 5-10 years, and I think we're just dipping the toe into what being together in real time on the internet can become like.
Okay, that's great. I think we're actually already out of time, I guess. That was a great chat. The metaverse, by the way, I've got one sentence into understanding the metaverse, and I gave up, but I'm sure somebody will explain to me on another panel. Mads, Joakim, and Todd, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.